In the heart of Norway's rugged wilderness lies a mystery that has captivated investigators, journalists, and true crime enthusiasts for over half a century. Known only as the Isdal Woman, this unidentified woman's charred remains were discovered in a remote part of Isdalen Valley in 1970. Her identity remains unknown, and the circumstances of her death continue to baffle experts. With every layer of the case peeled back, new questions emerge about her strange behavior, her multiple identities, and the possibility that she was tangled in Cold War espionage. This is the unfolding of a real-life mystery that reads like a spy thriller, complete with secret identities, coded notes, and a trail full of dead ends. I'm Mandolin, and this is Wild Curiosity. On the morning of November 29, 1970, a man hiking with his two daughters through Isdalen Valley, just outside of Bergen, Norway, stumbled upon a horrifying scene. A woman's body, badly burned, lay among the rocks. Her arms were raised in what is known as the boxer position, a telltale sign of extreme heat trauma. Locals had nicknamed Isdalen Death Valley, a place steeped in tragedy. In the Middle Ages, it was a site for suicides, and in the 60s, hikers had died after losing their way in the fog-covered terrain. But this woman didn't fit the profile of a lost trekker. One of the first responders described the scene as unsettling. The front of the woman's body was severely burned, including her face and most of her hair. Oddly, though, her back was untouched by the flames, suggesting she had fallen or thrown herself backward away from the fire. The objects found near the body only raised more questions. A broken umbrella, several bottles, rubber boots, burnt clothing, and items of jewelry were found, not worn, but placed beside her in a seemingly ritualistic manner. Forensic investigators later noted that the object's arrangement felt ceremonial. One of the more crazy things was that all of the labels from her clothes and belongings had been removed, either cut out or rubbed off, and it was a deliberate act to obscure her identity. The police released a physical description: 5.4 feet tall, dark brown, black hair, small face and ears, brown eyes, aged between 25 and 40, but without a name. The press coined her the Isdal Woman. A few days after the discovery of the body, police found two unclaimed suitcases at Bergen railway station. Inside of the suitcases was a mix of items, a bunch of wigs, clothing, German and Norwegian currency, plus some Dutch marks and other coins from various countries, a small collection of teaspoons, some cosmetics, a bunch of non-prescription glasses, and a eczema cream that also had the name on the prescription rubbed out of it. One pair of glasses actually had a fingerprint on it, and that fingerprint matched the Isdal Woman. This then seemed like a breakthrough, but once again, all identifying marks on all of her belongings had been removed. And a cryptic notebook was found, one that wouldn't be deciphered until a little later on. There was also a plastic shopping bag from Oscar Rortvet's footwear store in Stavanger, which led police there to that shop, where the owner's son remembered selling boots to a stylish woman who spoke English with an accent, and she smelled strongly of garlic, which is kind of a strange thing. She also took an unusually long time to choose her boots, and these boots matched the pair found at the scene. They're actually pretty cute boots. I will post those in the crime scene photos. So from this lead, investigators traced her movements to various hotels across Norway. She had registered under at least 8 false names, including, I may butcher these, just forewarning, including Genevieve Lancier, Claudia Tielt, Vera Jarl, and Fenella Lorch. Each time she listed a different nationality and city origin: Brussels, Ghent, Antwerp, Ostend. Each hotel required passport checks, meaning she likely carried multiple fake documents. So for all of these different aliases, she had a fake passport for each one. She often requested room changes during her stays and used German phrases in addition to English, and was described as elegant and aloof by different staff. One hotel waitress remembered her sitting silently beside, it seemed like, 2 German men, and they seemed to be naval officers. So the coded notebook found in her suitcase was eventually cracked. Rather than spy codes, though, it appeared to be a travel log. I don't know why she would write like this. It seems super hard. I will also post a photo of the notebook, but the way that it's written is like this. So a capital letter O, 22, and then space, another capital O, 28, space, capital P. And so they later found out that that indicated a stay in Paris from October 22nd to 28th. And then capital O, 29, capital P, capital S suggested her journey from Paris to Stavanger on October 29th. The rest of the entries matched hotel records in Bergen and other cities. So then they went to those other hotels and kind of tracked down anybody that knew anything about this lady. Still, the meticulousness of her aliases and lack of traceable belongings hinted at espionage. Especially during this time at the height of the Cold War, both Russian and Israeli agents were known to operate in Norway. Norwegian intelligence quietly investigated but offered no public comment for decades. Rumors persisted. Was she a spy, a courier, a defector? And so, yeah, like Norwegian intelligence agency or whatever, they actually were investigating this, but they kept it quiet until more recently. So there obviously was reason to think that she could have been a spy. So let's talk a little bit about the autopsy of her body. The forensic report only added to the intrigue of this case. So the Isdal woman had suffered a blow to the neck, possibly from a fall or an assault, and she had like bruising. Her lungs also contained soot and smoke particles, which is proof that she was unfortunately still alive when she was burned. And a trace of petrol was found beneath her body on a fur hat. And so it had been like soaked in gas, indicating an accelerant was used. In her stomach, they found 50 to 70 tablets of phenamol, a powerful sedative not commonly found in Norway at the time. And I guess they were prescribed back then for sleeping. But however, the pills hadn't fully absorbed into her bloodstream yet. So she had taken 3 different doses of this medicine. By the time she died, only the first dose of it had actually gone through her bloodstream. And they said that if she wouldn't have died from the fire, then definitely the next 2 doses. She took another one a little bit before, and then she took her 3rd dose right before she died. And so those 2 hadn't even reached her bloodstream yet. Only the first dose had. And so they said that if the fire hadn't killed her, then definitely the pills would have. However, the pills hadn't fully absorbed into her bloodstream, but she did have a super high level of carbon monoxide in her blood, so the fire. The official cause of death, they ruled it a probable suicide, combining the fire and overdose. But even investigators found this hard to believe. Why would someone set themselves on fire in a remote valley after ingesting so many sleeping pills? And why take such elaborate steps to erase their identity? The woman ended up being buried in February of 1971 in an unmarked grave. Assuming she might have been Catholic, the police arranged for a priest to conduct a modest ceremony, laying lilacs and tulips on her zinc-lined coffin. And the zinc-lined coffin was chosen because it deteriorates a lot slower. They chose to do that to preserve her remains just in case family one day did come forward. Police kept photographs of the funeral and documentation in hopes her relatives would someday claim her. One investigator, Harold Osland, never stopped thinking about the case. His son, Tor, would later actually write a book chronicling the mystery because it was such a big part of his dad's life. So for years, the Isdal woman's fate seemed sealed in silence, but in 2016, her story found new life. Her teeth, which I don't think I mentioned this before, but when they buried her, they did remove her jawbone because her dental work was wild. Like, I think she had 14 teeth that had been filled, or 14 root canals or something, and a bunch of gold teeth. I will also post pictures of her jaw because I found some of those. Okay, so her teeth, 14 of them, which had been filled with dental work uncommon in Norway, became a key to unlocking her origin. Believed lost, so they had taken her jaw out in 71 when they buried her, just so that they had like a piece of her to do future testing on, because this was the 70s and they knew as science was advancing that things would one day maybe get to a point where they could test these parts of her and figure out who she was. So this ended up actually becoming a big key for unlocking the origin of where she was from. It had gotten lost over the years, changing buildings, whatever. And they thought for sure the last investigator on the case misplaced it, took it, whatever. And so after searching and searching for weeks, it was finally uncovered in the basement of Auckland University's Hospital Forensic Archive. It was literally in a cellar. So Norwegian police, in collaboration with the University of Bergen, began conducting isotope analysis on her teeth. This groundbreaking technique analyzes chemical signatures of oxygen and strontium in enamel, and that will help offer clues about where somebody grew up. Oxygen isotopes reveal the water someone drank during childhood. Strontium indicates soil types and dietary patterns. The goal was to identify a geographic fingerprint that could help locate her country of origin. In addition to her jaw, researchers found tissue samples preserved from her autopsy: heart, lungs, ovaries, adrenal glands, all stored in paraffin blocks. These samples were submitted for DNA analysis. And then by 2017, an extended DNA profile confirmed that the Isdal woman was of European descent. So that totally threw people for a loop, because there was this running rumor that maybe she was Israeli. So that casted doubts on theories of Israeli intelligence links. So then the Norwegian police issued an Interpol black notice asking international law enforcement agencies to cross-reference their DNA databases. They said if someone in her close family is in a DNA registry somewhere, we will get a hit. Public interest then surged in more modern times. More than 150 tips were sent in, even though it had been, 40-something years later. The hope of finally giving this woman a name, a history, and a justice had been totally reignited. Perhaps the most chilling testimony came from a local hiker. He recalled 5 days before the discovery, so this would be a day after she checked out of the last hotel. He saw a woman matching her description to a T in Isdalen. She was flanked by 2 men in dark coats. She also looked uneasy, like she wanted to say something to him and kind of gave him these help me eyes, but she didn't. This is where the spy theories continue. Cold War operatives often met handlers in remote places and wore disguises and practiced intentional forgettability. So especially removing the labels on clothing, that is a big thing that people in espionage would do, especially during the Cold War. But unfortunately, that is where our story ends. It's been more than 50 years that have passed since the Isdal woman's body was found, but the search for answers continues. Who was she? Why did she travel under so many aliases? Was she running from something or towards something? Was she a spy, a smuggler, a woman in hiding? Modern science may yet reveal the truth, but until then, her unmarked grave in Bergen remains a haunting monument to one of Europe's most enduring mysteries. The Isdal woman remains nameless. Her story is one of shadows and smoke, where every uncovered clue only deepens the fog. She walked through cities under false names, changed hotel rooms like clockwork, and vanished into the forest carrying secrets she took to the grave. She was burned without a mourner, remembered only by investigators and strangers, until science gave her a second chance at a voice. Today, her teeth, her tissue, and her DNA sit in forensic labs, whispering fragments of a past the world is still trying to piece together. Was she a spy, a fugitive, a woman running from something, or towards something we may never understand? In a world driven by data and discovery, her silence still speaks, and maybe, just maybe, someone somewhere still remembers her name. If this mystery was interesting to you, don't let it disappear again. Share this story to keep her case alive. Do you know something about the Isdal woman? Contact NRK's investigation team. Want more stories like this? Subscribe to Wild Curiosity for more real-life wilderness mysteries, survival stories, and forgotten history brought back into the light. All right, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and maybe we'll do that crazy shipwreck episode, or maybe we'll do something more sinister. I'll see you then. Subscribe, follow, do all those things. It helps me so much and really just gives me the will to keep going. Stay curious, explore the wild, and remember, the truth is never as far away as it seems. All right, see you guys later. Love you. Enjoy the sunshine. Bye.